Being fooled down the mountain by my master, I was asked to choose one of the 6 ordinary senior sisters to marry and have children. However, I found that each of the 6 senior sisters had extraordinary identities and had become a goddess of national beauty and unparalleled beauty. Senior sister of the president, senior sister of the commander, senior sister of the skilled hands, senior sister of the StarsLin Mu. Master, I have met all the senior sisters before. They are very kind to me and are almost spoiling me. Master. That's great. How about being a disciple? Which one do you like? Lin Mu. Can't I take all of it? Master. Chapter 1. Longming Mountain. Dragon has emerged. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Liangua of the Dragon Soul Hall kneels down to thank the God of War for suppressing bandits, securing our border, and welcoming the God of War out of the mountain, sweeping across all countries. Qianjitang Zhang Tianren earnestly requests the Divine Doctor to come out of the mountain and save the world and the people. The Martial Arts Alliance cannot be left without a master for a day. Yi Tianlong from the Heavenly Tao Prefecture hopes that the experts can enter the mortal world and inherit the martial arts for thousands of years. The once cold and desolate Longming Mountain, where birds do not defecate, has gathered leaders from all over China today. The entire mountain, covering over 2,000 acres, is surrounded by armed planes, tanks, commercial vehicles, and nearly tens of thousands of troops. These people have strong auras, and their brows exude a majestic aura that has been held in high positions for a long time. Even passing dogs have to be slapped twice. Such a rare appearance for thousands of years has caused the surrounding residents and passers-by to exclaim in amazement. Dragon Soul Hall. Liangua. Oh my goodness. Isn't that the Dragon Soul Hall, known as the one hall guarding the country gate? Liangua is one of the 4 heavenly kings. There is also Zhang Tianren from Qianjitang. It is said that he is the top medical expert in China. Yi Tianlong from the Tiandao mansion in the martial arts world has also arrived. He is the top expert in the martial arts world. A group of big shots have arrived in the top circles of collectibles, businesses, and even the top tier. Oh my God, am I dreaming? Who lives in this mountain? The top forces of China gather here, and they all show great respect. It's a wonder in the world. Longming Mountain. A dragon has emerged. However, while everyone was discussing, there was an old man with gray hair and wearing a Taoist robe on the mountain, holding thorns and chasing a young man under 20 years old across the mountains and fields. Stinky kid. I told you to stay on the mountain and not run around. Look at the basket you dug up, I'll beat you to death. Woo-woo. Master, I was wrong. I dare not dare again. The boy's name is Lin Mu, and I saw him holding his buttocks, his face covered in tears, running and crying. But the thorns covered in thorns hit his buttocks, and he couldn't even see any scars. I don't know how long it took, but the old man stopped panting and threw the thorn in his hand, cursing. Stinky kid, the Taoist techniques are becoming more refined. Even I can't do anything about you. No wonder these junior brothers of mine have no face-to-face people. They have gone west to meet the Buddha. Lin Mu saw that he stopped fighting and carefully turned back, kneeling obediently in front of the old man to comfort him. Master, don't be angry. I promise to work hard for a few years and send you away too. Get lost. The old man's 2 beards fluttered up in anger upon hearing this, and he cursed angrily, Stinky kid, don't think that I don't know if I'm hiding my cultivation. You've already broken through 200 layers of the heavenly realm. Lin Mu was taken aback for a moment, rubbed his head and said with a silly smile, it's all because Master taught well. Fart. The old man completely lost his immortal demeanor and cursed, you want me to be a 50-story useless person and teach you a 200-story one. Do you want to tell me if I still have this old face? Hey. Master, how could you say that about yourself? Even a waste can cultivate to 100 levels. Lin Mu blinked his big eyes and smiled innocently. I. The old man covered his chest, feeling only anger attacking his heart. After adjusting for a while, he sighed and said, "Tell me about you. If you don't learn well at a young age, just learn from my junior brothers. What will you do to help them fulfill their wishes when you have nothing to do?" Lin Mu said forcefully, "Since I have learned the skills of several masters, I must help them fulfill their dying wishes. This is the way for me to fulfill my filial piety." The old man looked at him helplessly and said, "With your commotion, the outside world thought they were still alive. Now that they have come over to invite them out of the mountain, can't we let them be quiet?" "Master, it doesn't seem as scary outside as you said. Why didn't even a few masters want to go out of the mountains during their lifetime?" Lin Mu asked in confusion. "You don't understand." The old man shook his head and was about to continue preaching. As long as the god of war is willing to come out of the mountain, he can give away the overwhelming power of the world. What's the use of power? If an expert comes out of the mountains, I'll make him the richest man. Vulgar. How can an expert value money? As long as he is willing to go out of the mountains, I will let him choose the women from all over the world. Another noisy shout came from outside the mountain. The old man and Lin Mu fell silent for a moment. Cough cough. A burst of coughing interrupted Lin Mu's confusion. "Disciple, have you seen it? The outside world is so scary, they will use various things to confuse your mind, pull out your spinal cord, and make you completely fall." It's really scary. Lin Mu nodded thoughtfully before tilting his head and asking, "Then dare to ask Master, how can I avoid these?" The old man slowly stood up, with his hands on his back, lamenting deeply, "This place is no longer safe. In order to avoid causing harm to you, you can only go down the mountain." Going down the mountain. Lin Mu was extremely surprised. "That's right." The old man nodded faintly and then took out 6 letters and a piece of jade from his bag, throwing it to Lin Mu. "These are 6 marriage letters. These are the girls that my 6 junior brothers have casually pointed out. They are both your fiancée AE and your senior sister. You can choose one that suits your eyes and live an ordinary life after marriage." "Ah. Do I still have senior sister?" Lin Mu was startled when he heard this, and then blinked his eyes and asked, "Master, can't I take all of it?" "You step on the horse." The old man almost cursed, but quickly suppressed his anger and said, "Whatever, they are all ordinary people. I hope you can live a normal life. As for that piece of jade, it's a remnant jade. The other 6 pieces are in the hands of your 6 senior sisters. I have calculated that if you break through the heavenly realm, there will be a heavenly calamity. You need to gather all the jade of those 6 senior sisters and merge them together in order to break through the heavenly realm." "Oh." Lin Mu nodded in confusion and then asked, "Master, what about you?" Sigh. The old man sighed heavily and said, "I'm old, but I'm not dead. You can't control everything outside, disciple. I'll deal with those people outside." "Master. It's impossible." Lin Mu burst into tears and knelt down in front of the old man with a thud. "You shouldn't have suffered such a hardship, Master, for the mistakes of these disciples." The old man, however, was filled with emotion as he took out the dust and threw it at him. Lin Mu couldn't help but fly backwards in an instant. "Master." With a mournful cry echoing in the mountain stream, the old man's kind voice rang out again. "As soon as one enters the mortal world, it is as deep as the sea. From then on, happiness is like a passerby. As a teacher, who goes to hell? As a teacher." Before he could finish speaking, Lin Mu's voice came to his ear. "Master, you haven't given me money yet." "Old man." In order to avoid the hardships mentioned by the old man, Lin Mu packed his things and deliberately left from the back mountain. But I never expected that the back mountain would also be surrounded and overcrowded. However, what Lin Mu didn't expect was that those people were still pulling their necks and shouting at the top of the mountain, only treating him as a young boy chopping firewood on the mountain, and no one paid attention to him. Lin Mu took the opportunity to squeeze out of the crowd and finally arrived at the outskirts of the sparsely populated area, only to realize that he didn't know the way. Then he looked around and suddenly found a Maserati parked on the edge of the country road, with a tall woman wearing sunglasses standing beside her. It has almost perfect facial features, paired with exquisite makeup, making the whole person look elegant and unconventional. Its snowy skin and eyes are like clear water. When looking at it, there is a sense of elegance and nobility. Lin Mu saluted with his burlap bag and ran over with enthusiasm, politely asking, "Little sister, how do you charge?" Chapter 2. Beyond 7 Steps. The needle is fast and accurate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The woman was noticeably stunned when she suddenly approached Lin Mu, and then her pretty face under the sunglasses became particularly cold. "What did you ask just now?" Lin Mu clearly didn't notice the anger on her face that was about to overflow. He smiled and asked again, "I just wanted to ask, how do you charge?" "Who?" Just as she finished speaking, the woman lifted her jade hand without warning and slammed it with a fierce slap. However, before it even landed on his face, he was intercepted by Lin Mu in mid-air. "You're sick. I'll ask how it charges. What are you doing when you hit someone?" Listening to Lin Mu's questioning, Xiao and I almost laughed in anger. This stinky kid, who is full of foul language and slander, dares to be the first to report, which instantly makes her angry. "Let go. I won't let go." Lin Mutsai didn't care how beautiful the woman was, hitting someone was wrong, unless you apologize to me. "Do you want me to apologize to you?" Xiao and I finally understood that he had encountered a wild bandit. While Lin Mu and Xiao and I were entangled, 5 or 6 people had already gotten off the business car behind them not far away. "Kid! Let go of me immediately." Lin Mu suddenly lost his voice and cursed, "Wipe it. Are you guys in a black car? Damn it." The leading middle-aged man saw that Lin Mu still refused to let go, and together with a group of bodyguards behind him, they took out their telescopic sticks and threw them vigorously, then rushed towards Lin Mu. Lin Mu saw the situation and let go of Xiao and I. With a twist of his palm, several silver needles quickly flew out and inserted into the necks of Uncle Wang and several bodyguards. In the next moment, no matter how hard they exert themselves, their bodies will not move at all. Is this the Tai Chi Hunyuan Divine Needle? Seeing his appearance, Xiao and I suddenly took off his sunglasses and widened Shui Lingling's eyes, exclaiming in shock. "Hey! You actually know each other." Lin Mu was also somewhat surprised to see her say the name of this needle technique. This needle technique was created by the divine doctor Hu Laoxian. "How could you know this needle technique?" At this moment, Xiao and I put aside his prejudices and re-examined the shabby young man in front of him. "Hu Laoxian is my third master, and I taught him this needle technique." Lin Mu saw that the woman was discerning, so he smiled and said. Xiao and I is speechless again. Only a master teaches an apprentice, how can there be an apprentice teaching a father? However, she ignored these things directly. In today's situation, it is no longer realistic to ask the divine doctor Hu Laoxian to come out of the mountain to save people. Since this young man knows such needlework, he must have inherited some of Hu Laoxian's medical skills. Later, Xiao and I withdrew his previous hostility and said, "Young brother, since you are Hu Laoxian's disciple, can you please go and save someone?" After listening, Lin Mu pondered for a moment and said, "Okay, I don't like to owe anyone. I'll help you save people, just treat it as the fare for you to send me to Jiangling." After speaking, he casually waved and retrieved the silver needle from the necks of the bodyguards. Xiao and I heard his words and her expression suddenly became strange. Emotion, this kid mistook her Maserati for a taxi and came to ask how much the ride cost, not her. Xiao and I thought of this and blushed, shaking her head. What was she thinking? The bodyguards were also able to move freely, and the leading middle-aged man immediately rushed forward and said to Xiao Ni. Miss, this kid is obviously deceiving others, it's not trustworthy. I don't have time. If I can't cure my grandfather this time, the Xiao family group will be dealt a devastating blow. Uncle Heir and his team won't let my father go and compete for the position of head of this family. At that time, both my father and grandfather's hard work will be destroyed. Xiao Ni made a decision and no longer changed, turning to Lin Mu and saying, "Thank you, sir." Uncle Wang also looked at the others helplessly and then returned to his business car. The car started and the group headed towards Jiangling. Along the way, Xiao Ni and Lin Mu sat in the back row, with the driver controlling the driver's seat. After talking for a while, Xiao Ni also knew his name, but she did not reveal her name to Lin Mu. She only told Lin Mu that her surname was Xiao and she was the president of a large group in Jiangling. "Sister, since you are so excellent, can you help me find someone? As a reward, I can help you adjust your body." Lin Mu excitedly asked Xiao Ni. Xiao Ni rolled her eyes when she heard this. This kid really takes advantage and doesn't blush at all. However, as she still had some requests for him, Xiao Ni patiently asked, "Who are you looking for?" "Of course it's my wife." Lin Mu lowered his head shyly and then handed the 6 letters to Xiao Ni from a burlap bag. "This is my engagement with her, and it comes with her photos." Xiao Ni looked at it and asked in confusion, "There are 6 letters here, which one belongs to your wife?" "All of them." Lin Mu said straightforwardly. Xiao Ni. Good guy. Even though Xiao Ni is the CEO who dominates them all, he almost got angry and laughed at by Lin Mu. At such a young age, how can one be so promiscuous? However, since the other party is Hu Laoxian's disciple, it is normal for them to be arrogant at all. Anyway, Xiao Ni would definitely not take a liking to such a person. After receiving the letter, Xiao Ni stopped talking to Lin Mu and looked out the window, feeling tired. Lin Mu leaned over and asked, "Little sister, do you want me to help you take care of yourself?" "Shut up." "Okay." Lin Mu was regretful that he had not smelled enough of Xiao Ni's body fragrance. He was about to turn it back, but suddenly his expression changed dramatically. He forcefully pressed Xiao Ni's head between his legs. What are you doing?" Xiao Ni's face suddenly turned pale and she was in a state of panic. Bang! Before Xiao Ni could scold him angrily, the next moment he felt like the car he was in was hit by a violent impact and flipped forward and backward. Fortunately, Lin Mu was quick-witted and quickly broke through the window, holding Xiao Ni and escaping. Only then did the two of them survive. However, before Xiao Ni, who was still in shock, could speak, he heard the cold voices of Uncle Wang and several bodyguards coming from behind him. "You didn't die like this, kid. You really have some skills, miss. I'm sorry, someone doesn't want you to go back." Xiao Ni felt his mind spinning around, with messy hair scattered in front of his eyes, appearing somewhat disheveled. At first glance, the car I was riding in had already been crushed by a dump truck, and the driver who had not escaped had already been crushed to pieces. Turns out Lin Mu was saving her just now. Uncle Wang. So you were already bought by Uncle Heir. Upon seeing this situation, Xiao Ni immediately understood that it was a murder. Uncle Wang sneered and took out a pistol from his waist, opened the safety and aimed it at Lin Mu and Xiao Ni. "Sorry, miss, if you want to blame me, I can only blame second grandpa for giving too much." Xiao Ni's pupils suddenly shrank, and her delicate body trembled slightly when facing the dark muzzle of the gun. However, she still forcefully and calmly rebuked, "My father raised you with one hand. Are you repaying him like this? It is only natural to take money to do things." Wang Shuxi smiled and looked at Xiao Ni's figure with a hint of greed. "Besides, before doing this, I can still enjoy the body of the young lady. This life is worth it." Don't let me talk nonsense. I'll take it off myself or take it off. Xiao Enai felt her breathing stagnate and her eyes became increasingly desperate. In this kind of mountain path, it can be said that every day should not be called a dead end, but she would rather die than take advantage of such a bastard. Do you need any help? At this moment, the melon-eating crowd Lin Mu suddenly interrupted the standoff from the side with a loud voice. Xiao Enai, Uncle Wang, and other bodyguards were all stunned and turned their gaze to Lin Mu, who was holding his head and looking indifferent. Who is that? Go deal with this kid. Uncle Wang didn't talk nonsense, just let the people in his hands take down Lin Mu. Kid, if you want to blame me, I'll blame your bad luck and insist on getting involved. I know you have that weird silver needle, but there are more than a dozen of us here. I'd like to see if it's your needle that's fast or my gun that's fast. After hearing this, Lin Mu smiled and put down his hand, patting and saying with a smile. Within 7 steps, the needle is fast. After speaking, Lin Mu's gaze suddenly changed, becoming sharp and full of murderous intent. 7 steps away. The needle is fast and accurate. The next moment the silver needle in his hand suddenly burst out. Chapter 3. Even immortals can't save them. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just in the blink of an eye, along with more than a dozen bodyguards including Uncle Wang, they all fell to the ground without firing a single shot, their eyes bloodshot, and died suddenly. Even Xiao Enai was shocked by the scene before him and was about to fall to the ground. She didn't even see clearly how Lin Mu got the needle, and the other person collapsed. Looking at Xiao Nizhan's stunned and speechless expression, Lin Mu's face regained its usual silly smile and said, "Little sister, you owe me another favor. How about that? Do you want to consider becoming my 7th daughter? In law. Xiao Enai regained his senses and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. How did you do it? Lin Mu disdainfully rebuked, I can even kill 100,000 enemies standing in front of me. These little brats are nothing. Xiao Enai saw that he was joking, and her nervousness decreased significantly. She pouted and said, you know how to talk big. However, she also believed in Lin Mu from the bottom of her heart, killing more than 10 people without changing her face, and truly worthy of being the disciple of a divine doctor. Sir, we need to hurry back to Jiangling, otherwise things will change. Okay. But for today's life-saving kindness, you must repay it with your promise. Lin Mu smiled and said. Xiaoni's face turned red and she walked silently towards the bodyguard's business car just now, but her heart was already pounding and she could no longer calm down. Due to being driven by Xiao Enai, we drove all the way and soon arrived at Jiangling. Lin Mu looked at the scene outside the window, occasionally screaming and excitedly pulling Xiao Enai to ask questions, creating a scene of rural people entering the city. Feeling the warmth coming from the boy's hands, Xiao Enai felt that she didn't dislike it, and even a little. Secretly pleased. When driving, she would occasionally sneak a peek at this young man walking out of the mountains and accidentally discover that he was actually very handsome, but this handsome and masculine appearance brought her an inexplicable sense of collision. During their thoughts, they arrived at a luxurious villa complex in Jiangling called Longhu Tianzhuang Community. At this moment, the villa was already filled with people, seemingly waiting for something. Xiao Enai and Lin Mu pushed the door in and were instantly focused by dozens of pairs of eyes. Xiaoni. Have you finally come back? A middle-aged man greeted him upon seeing this, looking only in his 40s, but his sideburns were already a bit pale, obviously due to daily fatigue. Well, I'm back, Dad. How's Grandpa doing? Xiao Enai encountered a family member again after suffering a great disaster, her eyes turning slightly red. The situation is not very good. Your second uncle has hired Dr. Zhang to treat him upstairs. Let's not worry about this for now. How did you end up like this? Xiao Linshan felt extremely heartbroken when he saw his daughter with a disheveled face, completely devoid of her usual capable demeanor. Xiao Ni sneered, then I have to ask Uncle Air. Upon hearing this, Xiao Linshan frowned suddenly and turned his head to look at the man sitting in the yard, holding a cane and somewhat resembling his own appearance. Xiao Linyu heard Xiao Ni's sarcasm, and her eyes also showed a hint of coldness, but she quickly concealed it and showed a kind smile. Xiaoni, your second uncle can't understand what you're saying. I heard that you went to find the divine doctor Hu Laoxian, but I quickly brought Dr. Zhang to stabilize the old man's condition. Don't bring the divine doctor and he'll be gone, wasting your efforts. As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Linshan's face clearly turned a bit ugly. Second brother, are you just waiting for our father to die like this? Xiao Linyu clearly didn't take this approach and said, Big brother, this is your fault. I was completely thinking for the sake of the old man, but then again, didn't my niece go to see the divine doctor? Did the divine doctor find her? Upon hearing this, everyone once again focused their attention on Xiao Ni. The life and death of the Xiao family were all on her shoulders. Unexpectedly, Xiao Ni shook his head and said, after the trace of the divine doctor appeared in the world, Longming Mountain has already been enclosed and I can't even enter. Before everyone could show their disappointment, Xiao Ni immediately said. But I have invited the disciple of the divine doctor. With him here, Grandpa's illness will be cured. After finishing speaking, Lin Mu was pushed to the front of everyone. Seeing this situation, Lin Mu showed no stage fright and waved his hand warmly, Hello everyone, I am a disciple of a divine doctor. My name is Lin Mu, please take care of me. Everyone looked at Lin Mu so young and was stunned for a moment. Jokes. Xiao Linyu took the lead in regaining consciousness and stomped her crutch with a gloomy expression, scolding, Big niece, even if you want to compete for family property, you don't need to find a beggar to make up for it, do you? That's right, looking at his moral character and being a disciple of a divine doctor, why did he come out to cheat when he couldn't make a living? A young man with hands and feet, what's wrong with him? He insists on being a scammer. With Xiao Linyu's attack, other members of the Xiao family also began to follow suit and criticize Lin Mu. At this moment, a young girl emerged from the crowd, who looked somewhat similar to Xiao Ni, but her eyes were full of anger. She walked up to Lin Mu and pointed at his nose, cursing. Where did the lowly bastard come to my Xiao family to act recklessly? Miss, I'll give you 5 seconds and disappear immediately, otherwise I'll cripple your limbs and throw you out to feed the dog. After speaking, without venting his anger, he turned to ridicule Xiao Ni and said. Cousin, are you too tasteless? You're looking for a little white face to top up, at least find someone decent to come over. Look at his dirty appearance, he may still be sick. You're really not picky about food. Look at this sack. Those who don't know think it's his tool for picking up feces and eating, it smells so bad. Listening to Xiao Linyu's daughter Xiao Rongrong's unrestrained insults, both Xiao Ni and Xiao Linshan's faces became particularly gloomy, as they were about to retaliate against her. Pop! Lin Mu slapped Xiao Rongrong's face without warning, and she fell to the ground with such force that her face was smashed, and blood instantly flowed all over the ground. If you don't know how to speak human language, then learn to bark like a dog. I can also act as a dog lover for a while and throw you a few bones. Lin Mu's expression was cold, completely devoid of the kindness he had just shown. Xiao Rongrong covered her bleeding face and suddenly felt a sharp pain, screaming in agony. Ah! My face! My face! Rongrong! Xiao Linyu saw that her daughter was disfigured with just one slap, and immediately got angry, looking at Lin Mu with a gloomy expression on her face, Dog thing, how dare you harm my daughter? If I ask you to stand out today, I won't have a surname. Shwa shwa shwa. Before he could finish speaking, suddenly a silver needle flew in and inserted it into Xiao Linyu's vocal cords. The latter's voice suddenly came to an end, and his frightened eyes widened as he covered his neck, unable to make a sound no matter what. Who else would question my medical skills? No one expected Lin Mu to be so fierce. The other members of the Shao family instantly quieted down and involuntarily took a step back, afraid that he would affect them. Seeing no one coming out to stop him, Lin Mu felt bored and turned to Xiao Ni with a sunny big boy smile. "Can I go in and treat the patient now?" So kind, completely different from just now. "But it's okay, please come this way." Although he had seen Lin Mu's methods a long time ago, Xiao Ni couldn't help but feel a bit shocked. This guy is too domineering. However, as soon as she thought that he was venting for herself, a touch of warmth suddenly appeared in Xiao Ni's heart. Then he took him to the second floor of the villa in front of everyone, and the others ignored the tragic situation of Xiao Lingyu and his daughter, and followed him up the stairs together. When Xiao Ni brought Lin Mu to the room, he found a skinny and dying old man lying in bed, which was the head of the Shao family, Xiao Zhenzhong. And there is a doctor wearing a white coat next to him, injecting needles into his scalp. Lin Mu immediately spoke up and stopped, "If you stab this needle, even immortals cannot save the patient." Chapter 4. This garbage needle technique. Just give it to you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dr. Zhang was interrupted by Lin Mu to administer the needle, and he turned his head to see that the person who had just stopped him was actually a rural kid, feeling quite displeased. "Who are you? Why are you obstructing me from treating patients?" Lin Mu said calmly, "I'm the one who came to stop you from falling into disrespect." Xiao Ni stepped forward at this moment and said, "Dr. Zhang, this is the disciple of the divine doctor I invited from Longming mountain. This time, he is here to help my grandfather see a doctor." Upon hearing that he had come to grab a job, Zhang Linsheng's expression instantly changed. "Miss Xiao, what do you mean by the Xiao family? At least with my treatment, the old man has continued his life for 6 months. Even if you don't trust my medical skills, you shouldn't humiliate me with such a kid, should you? What? You haven't cured this disease for half a year?" Lin Mu exclaimed in great surprise, saying that you are a quack doctor has already elevated you. What are you saying? Zhang Linsheng is also a well-known doctor in China, how could he bear such an insult? Throwing the silver needle in his hand, he angrily rebuked. "What are you, dare you question my medical skills?" "I don't question it." Lin Mu spread his hands, "I didn't even consider your medical skills." Crazy. Too crazy. Lin Mu's words made all the Shao family members present change their faces, and even Xiao Linshan couldn't sit still. He stepped forward and made a round statement. "Dr. Zhang, it's inevitable that the young man will be young and energetic. Don't get angry. It's most important to see the old man now that he's here. Why don't you two analyze the condition together and try to come up with a treatment plan?" "I can't afford it." Zhang Linsheng said with a strange tone, "He's a disciple of a divine doctor. As a little physician like me, I don't have the qualifications to analyze the condition with him." After finishing speaking, I didn't forget to add, "Don't blame me for not reminding you. Those who claim to be disciples of divine doctors at the foot of Longming mountain have 9 out of every 10 caught. Do you want me to treat them or him to treat them? You can decide for yourself." This. Upon hearing his words, Xiao Linshan lost his confidence and turned to look at Xiao Ni. Xiao Ni understood and gently pulled Lin Mu, then said to Zhang Linsheng, "Since that's the case, let's ask Dr. Zhang to treat my grandfather first. I'll have Mr. Lin observe now." Lin Mu was stunned for a moment, and then heard Xiao Ni whispering in his ear, "Zhang Linsheng is an authoritative medical expert in the country. If you offend him, you will offend the entire medical system in Jiangling. Please be patient." After speaking, Lin Mu showed a pleading expression towards him, and couldn't help but burst into laughter. This girl surprisingly has a cute side. Later, he spoke to Xiao Ni through a voice and said, "I'm not joking. Even if he takes that shot, the Immortals won't be able to save him." Ah! Xiao Ni was suddenly startled. He was about to stop Zhang Linsheng, but he found out that he had returned to the bedside at some point and stabbed the old man with that shot. It's over. Xiao Ni only felt a buzzing sound in his mind, and his face instantly turned pale. However, to their surprise, after this injection, Xiao Xinzhong's breathing became smoother and his electrocardiogram returned to normal. This made everyone present breathe a sigh of relief and also look down upon Lin Mu. Do you think this kid has a lot of skills? Isn't he a clown who tries to please the public? Thanks to Dr. Zhang, otherwise I wouldn't know how much trouble I would have caused by my useless niece today. Upon seeing this, Zhang Linsheng also let go of the stone hanging in his heart and glanced at Lin Mu, his eyes filled with disdain. However, before he could be proud for long, Xiao Xinzhong lying in bed suddenly widened his eyes, and then his whole body twitched, and his electrocardiogram also became a straight line. How? How could this be? Zhang Linsheng was also confused. He had already saved the old man's life, why did this happen? Xiao Ni was greatly alarmed at the sight and pulled Lin Mu in panic, saying, "Sir, please save Grandpa. As long as you can save Grandpa, you can do whatever you want me to do." Lin Mu seemed to have been prepared for this long time. In front of everyone, he walked up to Xiao Xinzhong and gently placed his finger on his head. Xiao Xinzhong instantly fell silent, and his electrocardiogram also recovered. Immediately after, Lin Mu drew out a silver needle and stabbed the old man 8 times throughout his body. The last one was infused with true qi, and after brewing for a while, it directly pierced his head. The next moment Xiao Xinzhong suddenly spat out black blood, which once again shocked everyone. Grandpa! Dad! However, just as everyone was about to condemn Lin Mu, they were surprised to find that a hint of blush appeared on Xiao Xinzhong's pale face. Lin Mu stretched his head at this moment, carefully observed, and then pulled a black piece of jade from his neck, revealing it to Xiao Ni and saying, "The old man is not sick, but has been cursed by someone. This curse will devour the human body and cannot be cured by unconventional means. Poison curse." Xiao Ni and everyone heard this statement for the first time. Who would be so cruel? Lin Mu smiled faintly and said, "Just take a look at who gave this poisonous jade, okay? Is that Uncle Heir?" Xiao Ni's face changed. "No." Xiao Linshan shook his head and said, "This jade was obtained by my father when he went to Tianhai before, not from my second brother. This is your business, my task has been completed." Lin Mu stood up with a smile and was about to leave when he saw Zhang Linsheng kneeling on the ground with a thud, his eyes showing an incredulous expression and asking, "Dare you ask, sir, what you just performed was the long-lost 9 needles resurrection technique. Lin Mu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Just now I said you're not as good as a quack doctor. It's my fault. Being able to recognize this technique can be considered a quack doctor. Divine Doctor. Please forgive me for my disrespectful behavior just now. I earnestly request the Divine Doctor to disregard past grievances and accept me as my disciple." Zhang Linsheng was not displeased with the term quack this time, but instead excitedly kowtowed directly to Lin Mu. In front of Lin Mu, what is it that he is not a quack? I'm not interested in taking in apprentices. If you want to learn this garbage needle technique, I'll give it to you. Lin Mu waved his hand in disgust and finished speaking. He took out the 9 needles resurrection book from his sack and threw it to Zhang Linsheng like garbage. After Zhang Linsheng took it, he held it in his hand like a treasure, afraid of damaging the book. His eyes were shining with excitement. Everyone looked at this scene with a strange expression on their faces. Just now, some people said that Lin Mu's burlap bag was filled with feces, but now everything he takes out has been regarded as a treasure by Zhang Linsheng, whom they usually highly respect. This sarcasm is imprinted on the face with a burning pain. "Thank you very much, Master." "Kneel down and thank you, Master." Before Zhang Linsheng could thank him, where is Lin Mu's shadow still in front of him? Xiao Ni was also alarmed by Lin Mu's sudden departure, but after searching around, he found out that he had indeed left. Suddenly, an unprecedented sense of decline surged in my heart. At this moment, Shaolin Shan walked up and patted her shoulder, asking, "Daughter, where did you find this person? He is such a great person, you must have deep friendships in the future." "Ah, Dad, my daughter wants to, but she already has an engagement, by the way." "Engagement?" Xiao and I seemed to remember something and immediately dug out several letters that Lin Mu had given her from her bag. "He wants me to help him find someone, but he doesn't know who he's looking for. So, I can still get in touch with him." Then, under the surprised gaze of Shaolin Shan, she opened all those letters one by one. However, when she saw the women in these photos, she was completely dumbfounded. Li Yafei, currently the most popular actress. Shen Xinro, the youngest and most promising doctor in the country. Chen Weiwei, the youngest martial arts powerhouse in the country. Chu Lin, the youngest Chinese general. Lu Ruoxue, although I don't know her, from the photos, she is also a goddess-level figure. Xiao and I couldn't help but cry and laugh when she saw this. Among these women, which one was not the best among them, but Lin Mu treated them as engaged wives. For a moment, she felt that Lin Mu was making fun of her. Then she opened the sixth letter with a curious heart, and her expression froze instantly. "Is this me?" Chapter 5. I am your unpassed senior sister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Lin Mu came out of Zhao's house, the Nokia in his bag suddenly rang. Lin Mu didn't even look, but after connecting, he chuckled and said, "Master, are you missing me so quickly? Why don't you go back to the mountains as it's not fun in the city?" This phone number is only known to his master. Turn your head. Stay well. The old man's hurried voice came from the other end of the phone. "Good disciple, listen carefully, there's something wrong with master." Lin Mu stopped his steps and suddenly showed a fierce expression on his face. "What's going on?" Although he is used to arguing with the old man all year round, the relationship between the master and disciple can be said to be deep and righteous. If anything happens to the old man, he will definitely rush back to put out the fire without hesitation. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just that those people saw through the identity of being a teacher. They all know that those things were not done by a teacher, but by you. Lin Mu. Damn it. Old man. You're fucking me. What about going to suffer for him as agreed? Did he get kicked down the mountain for nothing? Don't be so discouraged either. At most, it's just inheriting the mantle of my junior brothers. Anyway, your senior uncles want you to inherit their power every day. You should be filial and aggrieved. The old man smiled disapprovingly. But after hearing this, Lin Mu's whole body was not doing well. "Master, you can't do this. I'm still young, how can I be harmed by those hardships?" Anla. Unexpectedly, the old man didn't worry about his collapse at all. "My days as a teacher are not much better. Hey, girl, there are treasures here. You can't suck them randomly. Let's not talk about it for now, that's it. You take care of yourself." Pop. Before Lin Mu could react, the old man hung up the phone, leaving him scattered in the air. After half a sound, I heard Lin Mu's roar. "Old bastard. I his mother." Ding. I didn't finish cursing, I received a text message on my phone. "To Air, your senior sisters already know the news of you going down the mountain. I have sent them all the information about your appearance, and it won't be long before you can recognize each other. Senior sisters and younger brothers should get along well. Lin Mu. Well, let's go find our daughter. In law first. No, let's go find our senior sister." Lin Mu felt very contemptuous of the old man's rogue behavior, but now that he is in a strange city, he can't go anywhere and can only take a step to see. Then he followed the instructions given to him by the old man and arrived at the busiest CBD center in the center of Jiangling. Looking at the towering office buildings, Lin Mu felt like a tiny ant. Then he carried a burlap bag and walked towards the lobby of the office building. Daring to enter the lobby, he was stopped by the security guard at the entrance and drove away with a look of disgust. "Hey! We don't accept waste here. Let's go, let's go. Collect scrap." Lin Mu was slightly taken aback, then looked up and down at the security guard and said with a silly smile, "I really don't accept you as a waste. I'm here to find my wife. Do you dare to scold me?" As soon as the security guard heard him scold him as useless, a fierce expression appeared on his face. He pulled out the electric baton from his waist and walked forward to scold him. "Kid, do you know where this is? This is the Shao group. Do you have the chance to act wild here? If you don't get out of here, I'll break your dog leg." However, as soon as he finished speaking, Lin Mu suddenly kicked him in the stomach, causing the security guard to instantly fly out and knock over the table. Upon hearing this commotion, all eyes in the lobby were drawn in. Lin Mu, on the other hand, showed no fear and pointed to the security guard, shouting to the people in the lobby. "Hey! Whose dog is this? It bit me." After finishing speaking, he muttered softly, "Big cities are different. I use dogs to guard the courtyard, and they use people." Such an arrogant and domineering aura instantly stunned all the elites present in the workplace. Duh. At this moment, a slender woman wearing a hip wrap dress, black framed glasses, and high heels walked up and asked coldly, "Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in the Shao group?" Lin Mu looked at the woman from head to toe with clear eyes. It has to be said that the women in the city have really good figures. Although they are not as cold and stunning as Shao Ni, they are also well proportioned, with beautiful features and a work badge hanging on their chest, which reads No-10. Gu Xiaoyu. Gu Xiaoyu was scrutinized by his unabashed gaze, and his pretty face suddenly became even colder. Where did the beggar come from? Get out, or I'll call the police. Lin Mu was scolded by her with a bewildered expression on his face and said, "Oh. Do you guys, the dog guarding the gate, still have male and female partners?" Gu Xiaoyu was scolded by him as a mother dog, and even with the best manners, she couldn't hold back any longer. She turned her head to the walkie-talkie and shouted, "Everyone from the security department come over here. Someone is causing trouble here." Shwa shwa. In less than a minute, more than 10 security guards with explosion-proof equipment immediately rushed up and surrounded Lin Mu. "What are you doing?" "I'm just here to find my wife, right?" Lin Mu was confused by the hostility of these people, and he didn't do anything. Why did these people target him? "Looking for your wife." Gu Xiaoyu frowned and asked, "Who is your wife?" After flipping through his phone for a while, Lin Mu suddenly smiled and said, "Oh, yes, this daughter-in-law is the president of the Shao group, named Shao Ni." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and immediately sneered at them. Although Mr. Shao is the most beautiful CEO of Jiangling, it's not something that can be tarnished by such a person, is it? The people chasing after Mr. Shao have all been arranged from Jiangling to Tianhai, each of whom is a salary young master from a prestigious family. Who is he? Another crazy one. This one is too unattractive this time. No, she's really my wife. Lin Mu quickly explained when they didn't believe her, although we haven't met before, we have an engagement. Jokes. Gu Xiaoyu thought he could spit out some ivory from his dog's mouth, but he didn't expect to say such a thing. She just laughed at him angrily. "You're making fun of us early in the morning, right? Get out of here." Squeak. Just as these security guards were about to besiege Lin Mu, a business Maybach suddenly stopped outside the door. Immediately after, Shao Ni got out of the car and saw the blocked lobby and Lin Mu being surrounded. She was momentarily stunned and then hurriedly walked over this way. Gu Xiaoyu immediately responded to Xiao Ni and said, "I'm sorry, General Xiao. This beggar has some mental health issues. You can move in through the back door first, and I'll handle it immediately." Unexpectedly, Xiao Ni seemed to have not heard her words and pushed her away with his hands before walking towards Lin Mu in diameter. Everyone gloated at the sight. This kid is going to have bad luck. Who doesn't know that Mr. Xiao values his reputation more than his life? A young master once publicly claimed that he slept with Mr. Xiao all night, and Mr. Xiao gave him a blow the next day, cutting off his descendants' legs. He deserves his misfortune. Who made him want a toad to eat swan meat? Lin Mu saw that he was an acquaintance and immediately wanted to come forward and explain, "Sister, you came just in time. Tell them quickly that I am not a bad person, I really came to find." However, before she could finish speaking, Xiao Ni suddenly extended her arms and, under the astonished gaze of everyone, hugged Lin Mu directly into her arms, saying in an extremely gentle voice, "Xiao Mu. I am your sixth senior sister who has not yet passed the door." Chapter 6, Shall We Work Together? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Shocking. Shocked. Sigma, hi. At this moment, the lobby was completely silent. Everyone almost forgot their breath, just staring blankly at Xiao Ni holding Lin Mu in their own twin peaks. Lin Mu felt two mountains blocking his nose, causing his face to turn red. He struggled desperately and looked at Xiao Ni with a puzzled gaze. "Sister, are you the president of the Xiao group?" "My wife." "Bah, my senior sister." Xiao Ni's gaze was indulgent, but she didn't explain anything. Instead, she calmly said to Gu Xiaoyu, whose chin had already touched the ground, "He's my junior brother, and he's also me. Forget it, as long as you know, from today on, he can enter and exit this place freely without any obstruction. Do you know, Xiaoyu?" After speaking, he took Lin Mu to the elevator without giving everyone time to digest. Gu Xiaoyu regained his senses from the shock, but his mind still buzzed. He just widened his eyes in disbelief as he watched them leave, murmuring, This kid is really the CEO's." She shook her head desperately, thinking she was still living in a dream, but found that no one else was better than her. "Mr. Xiao, wait for me." Gu Xiaoyu immediately chased after her, and by the time she left, the lobby had already been fried in no time. Xiao Ni brought Lin Mu to his office and fully disclosed his identity to him. "After Grandpa woke up, he told me that there were actually 5 senior sisters and 1 junior brother, all of whom were disciples of Longming Mountain, but we didn't know each other. The only thing we had in common was that we were both seriously ill back then. If it weren't for Master Mu's use of your blood to save us, we could continue to live in this world. So back then, the masters all arranged marriages for you and us without authorization." Speaking of which, Xiao Ni's cold face blushed slightly. Before this, she had already had a slight fondness for this young man with exceptional skills. Now that she knew she had such a past, an indelible ripple rose in her heart upon hearing this. Lin Mu smiled and said, "I didn't expect that the first thing I did when I went down the mountain was to save my grandfather. As expected, good people have good karma." Listening to Lin Mu's direct recognition, Xiao Ni's face blushed a bit, like a little girl in love, where is there still her usual aloofness. Then she slowly stood up and walked up to Lin Mu again, holding him in her arms with tears in her eyes. "Xiao Mu, thank you for giving me a second life, and even more so for saving our Xiao family." The familiar mountain peak was suffocating Lin Mu, but this time he forced his face out and looked straight at Xiao Ni, saying, "Sixth senior sister, can we get together?" As soon as Lin Mu spoke, she could clearly feel Xiao Ni's delicate body tremble suddenly, and then she looked at Lin Mu's face in her arms with disbelief as it was about to bleed. "Ah! Is it just right here? Too fast, isn't it?" "Not fast. Just one quick fix." This is also my first time, I'm not very proficient yet. Lin Mu blinked his eyes and looked at Xiao Ni clearly. This is also my first time. After Xiao Ni said these words, she suddenly felt a little hypoxia in her brain, and shyness poured down her spine. How could she say such words? It's all the first time. Then let's study it. Lin Muxing said impulsively, with a thirst for knowledge in his eyes. We still need to study posture. Xiao Ni's face turned red, and she bit her red lips lightly as she agreed. She looked around and saw that she had never been in the office before. Such an exciting place, junior brother, isn't this? That too good. Although that was the case, Xiao Ni's body was very honest, and he even slowly closed his eyes. President. Emergency meeting. Xiao Linyu and Xiao Rongrong are always leading the board of directors. At this moment, Gu Xiaoyu suddenly burst into the office with a pile of documents in hand. Halfway through, he stopped abruptly. Clack. All the information fell to the ground, and there was still something unfinished in my mouth. I'm here to ask for punishment from the teacher. Xiao Ni exclaimed in surprise and immediately pushed away Lin Mu, who looked bewildered. She quickly tidied up her clothes and tried to maintain her composure, asking Gu Xiaoyu. I know now, just let them wait in the conference room. After speaking, she dared not look at Lin Mu and hastily grabbed the information on the table, stepping on high heels to escape from here. Little did she know that the secretary Gu Xiaoyu who was following behind had already become disorganized. Has she ever seen Xiao Ni, who has always been aloof and proud, have such an expression? And it's still in the office. Lin Mu felt like Xiao Ni was fleeing and left. He couldn't help but touch the back of his head and said, I just wanted to see if the jade could be closed. What is senior sister Lu doing? When Xiao Ni entered the conference room, although her face was still flushed, her expression had already returned to its former cold and noble state. Especially when she saw Xiao Rongrong with bandages on her face and Xiao Linyu with a gloomy expression, she felt that today's level should not be too good. Sure enough, at the beginning of the meeting, Xiao Linyu took the lead in challenging. Big niece, although the old man has recovered now, he is no longer competent for the position of chairman. Therefore, I have just obtained his permission. The next chairman position will be chosen between you and Rongrong. Since it was my grandfather's decision, I naturally followed suit, but Rongrong has never managed a company, so I'm afraid she's not very suitable. At this moment, Xiao Ni sat straight on the chair, with the strong woman's aura fully open, completely different from the little girl's posture in front of Lin Mu just now. Seeing her refuse directly, Xiao Linyu didn't get angry either. His smile was cold and he said, although that's the case, you may not be able to manage at the beginning. Isn't there still me? Besides, although Rongrong is a blank sheet of paper, at least she is not at fault, unlike you. After hearing this, Xiao Ni furrowed her eyebrows and said, what does second uncle mean? Humph. What do you mean? Xiao Linyu no longer exchanged greetings and turned to other shareholders with a cold snort, saying, Xiao Group's profits have decreased by half this year. As the CEO, you have an inescapable responsibility. Xiao Ni stared at Xiao Linyu and said, what kind of market is this year? I believe Uncle Heir, you know better than anyone else. Enterprises at the same level as us are already in debt, and I have also created profits for the group this year. What's wrong? However, Xiao Linyu said, such a small profit is not enough for us old shareholders to distribute dividends at the end of the year. What's the use of it? Besides, you had the opportunity to cooperate with the Li family, but it was because you didn't go to the business banquet of the Li family's young master that the Li family's funds were delayed, which led to such meager profits and heavy losses for the group this year. At this point, he slowly stood up and said to the shareholders, so I suggest dismissing Xiao Ni as the CEO. As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Ni's face completely turned cold. Who else is going to dismiss her in Chapter 7? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Xiao Ni finally saw it clearly. Lin Mu's words of wanting her to compete with Xiao Rongrong for the position of chairman were actually aimed at dismissing her. She doesn't even have the position of CEO, how can she run for the position of chairman? However, Xiao Ni can also be considered someone who has experienced a big scene. Faced with Lin Mu's aggression, her jade fingers lightly tapped on the table and said in a cold tone. Second uncle, you should also know that Li Haojie is not even talking to me. What his purpose is, you should be clearer than me. Li Haojie, the young master of the Li family, is a famous playboy in Jiangling City. He has played with many women by relying on his power and influence. Who knows the crooked thoughts of Li Haojie towards Xiao Ni in the entire city of Jiangling? He invited Xiao Ni to discuss cooperation. Its purpose is self-evident. Business negotiations are just like this. For the future of the Shaw Group, you are unwilling to make even this sacrifice. How can people believe that you are capable of holding the position of chairman? That's right, Mr. Lin, you said it right. At this moment, Lu Hai, the old shareholder, stood up and accused Xiao Ni, the investment in the hands of the Li family is related to the survival of the Xiao Group. If you can't even win this order, how can you talk about the future? It seems that President Xiao is not suitable for the position of chairman. Yeah, President Xiao, when it's time to sacrifice, we have to sacrifice. Everyone relies on this money for the Chinese New Year, let alone something that can be settled just by having dinner with Mr. Li. Why not do it? The position of chairman is not a child's play. If you don't have this kind of consciousness, I think you should choose another person. The position of president, don't do it again. Listening to everyone's verbal and written criticism, Xiao Ni's face became increasingly ugly. These people are all old shareholders of the Xiao Group, but unexpectedly, after their father resigned due to illness, they all switched sides with Lin Mu and tried to push her into the pit of fire. At this moment, Gu Xiaoyu couldn't bear to watch anymore and stood up to scold, how could you seniors be so vulgar? Who didn't know that President Xiao went to various places for financing day and night to maintain profits for the group this year, and only slept for less than 3 hours a day? You are saying such things too much now. Shut up. At this moment, Xiao Rongrong patted the table and pointed at Gu Xiaoyu's nose, cursing, what are you? Does the board of directors of Xiao Group have the right for you as a servant to interrupt? I'm just being honest. Even if you dismiss me, I still look down on you guys who want to trade President Zhao's innocence for benefits. Although Gu Xiaoyu's eyes showed timidity, he still stubbornly retorted. Bold. Lin Mu drank low and said, where did the fly come from? Get out. Xiao Yu's words. That's what I mean. Unexpectedly, Xiao Ni directly accepted Lin Mu's threat and stood up, propping his hands on the conference table. He bent down and stared at everyone present calmly, not to mention that I already have a husband, even if I don't, I will definitely not bow down to the Li family. If you want to remove my position as CEO, you can give it a try. Her words filled everyone present, and her domineering tone instantly brought the temperature of the conference room to freezing point. Do you have a husband now? Lin Mu and other shareholders were all stunned. They meet with Xiao Ni every day, why don't they know about this? Hee, cousin, stop pretending. Everyone in Jiangling knows that you have outrageous high standards. How could you possibly have a husband? If that's the case, why don't you tell me who he is? With a bang. Xiao Rongrong's mockery had just fallen when the door of the conference room was kicked open, shattering into pieces. Her husband is me. Everyone was startled by the loud noise and surrendered their gaze to the door. Immediately after, Lin Mu walked out of the dust. It's you, the dog owner again. After seeing Lin Mu, Xiao Rongrong jumped up and cursed as if her tail had been stepped on, but before she could finish speaking, she was scared back by Lin Mu's gaze. At this moment, Lin Mu's gaze was no longer as simple and clear as before, but with a cold and murderous intent, like that of a Shura purgatory, making people shudder. However, Xiao Rongrong still came to her senses and said to Xiao Ni. He is indeed the little white face you have taken care of. Look, everyone. The CEO of the impressive Xiao group actually took care of the little white face. It's a shocking scandal. Unexpectedly, as soon as she spoke, Lin Mu's body moved and he appeared in front of her, slapping her with the back hand and falling directly to the ground. Bastard! Do you really think our Xiao family is easy to bully? Xiao Linyu was completely enraged when she saw her daughter Meikai being disfigured twice. However, Lin Mu didn't give him a chance to talk nonsense at all. He put his foot on his belly and made his eyes turn white, fiercely knocking over the table. Lin Mu is very angry at this moment. Just now he was in the office, listening to everything inside clearly, and then he realized how passive Xiao Ni was in the company. What's even more outrageous is that these old guys made Xiao Ni sell his body for their own benefit. Uncle, be patient. Auntie can't bear it. Xiao Ni and Gu Xiaoyu were also shocked by Lin Mu, who suddenly broke in and started a big fight. No one expected this young man to be so terrifying when he got angry. Lin Mu walked up to the Bangs and asked lightly. Just now, I asked my wife to sacrifice her appearance and give you the year-end bonus, right? What are you doing? This is a rule of law society. You. Lu Hai was scared and trembled, but still didn't believe Lin Mu dared to do anything to him. But he was still wrong, so wrong. Lin Mu didn't wait for him to finish speaking, so he reached out his hand and picked up his almost bald hair, lifting it up. You're quite old, how could you shamelessly say such things? If someone can sacrifice themselves, why don't you go? Damn. What are you talking about, bastard? The bangs were almost torn open by his hair, but he was also stunned by Lin Mu's amazing words. He's a man. How to sacrifice? Pop. After Lin Mu finished speaking, he gave him a big mouth, his teeth fanned out a few times, and then fiercely threw it out. Immediately after, Lin Mu walked up to the several shareholders who had just targeted Xiao Ni together, each with a big push, showing no mercy. None of the people present stepped forward to stop him, and they could only let him act wildly here. It's not that they dare, it's that they can't beat it. After fanning these people, Lin Mu returned to Xiao Ni's side and looked at her stunned expression. Lin Mu gently picked her up and placed her on a chair, while he lifted his foot and chopped straight down at the huge conference table. With a bang. The incredibly hard marble conference table was split in half directly from it, making everyone present pale with fear. Immediately after, Lin Mu's calm voice came to their ears. Who else is going to dismiss my wife as the CEO? Chapter 8. Under the Immortal, I am invincible. 1 for 1 above the Immortal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though all the big shots in the mall were present, they were all stunned by Lin Mu's kick at this moment. Even Xiao Ni was shocked by Lin Mu's actions and her pupils dilated. She covered her small mouth in disbelief, but her heart felt an unprecedented sense of stability. At this moment, Xiao Rongrong got up from the ground, covered her swollen face, and pointed at Xiao Ni with a ferocious expression. Xiao Ni, you despicable person. You brought a rural wild seed to the group to act recklessly and even beat up the group's shareholders. I will definitely tell Grandpa the truth about this matter. You just wait to be expelled from the group. Xiao Ni's face changed slightly in the face of his threat, but soon she took a deep breath and, under the surprised gaze of everyone, stood up, picked up a teacup, and walked towards her. What are you doing? The next moment I saw Xiao Ni suddenly pour all the hot tea onto Xiao Rongrong's face, with over 80 degrees of water scalding her still unhealed wound, causing her to scream in pain while covering her face. Xiao Ni. You're reckless. Xiao Linyu got up from the ground and was furious when she saw her daughter's face contorted to this look. Xiao Ni ignored his anger and said coldly. I don't mind being expelled from the group. I, Xiao Ni, have never failed the group and have a clear conscience. But if you dare to insult Xiao Mu again, I will use all my life's resources to completely eliminate you and Lin Mu from the group. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone took a deep breath and turned their gaze to Lin Mu, who was also full of astonishment. No one expected that such a young man who ran out of the mountains and fields would attract so much favor from the once aloof beauty CEO, even willing to give up the group, willing to fish to death with his own uncle. Even Lin Mu was shocked by Xiao Ni's actions. My sixth senior sister, how domineering. Xiao Ni ignored the gaze of everyone present and instead walked up to Lin Mu's side, affectionately holding onto his arm. Xiao Mu, let's go. Xiao Ni. Stop me. Lin Mu saw that she was going to leave and angrily rebuked from behind. Do you think you can just scare us off with a lowly seed? In the board election the day after tomorrow, if you don't bring the investment from the Li family over, you won't be able to stay at the Xiao family. As you please. Xiao Nitu replied without hesitation, pulling Lin Mu away from the conference room. The chaotic scene plunged everyone present into silence. Lin Mu suppressed her anger and kicked over the chair in front of her, angrily roaring. What are you looking at? Hurry up and take my daughter to the hospital. After leaving the conference room, Xiao Ni took Lin Mu back to her office and sat down in the boss's chair, kneading her sore forehead, looking exhausted. Lin Mu spoke out to appease the situation and said. Senior sister, actually you don't have to do this, Before he could finish speaking, Xiao Ni waved his hand and interrupted softly. Xiao Mu, you don't have to feel that you owe me anything. Anyway, I will definitely take care of you thoroughly and never let anyone harm you. What kind of CEO or chairman is it compared to you? Lin Mu couldn't help but laugh and cry. He had intended to persuade Xiao Ni that there was no need to tear his face like this, because he could easily break these bad words. There was no need to waste his words, but he never wanted to be misunderstood by Xiao Ni because he was afraid. Don't worry, senior sister. I will help you. Lin Mu smiled helplessly and then walked behind Xiao Ni to help her massage the acupoints of her head. Xiao Ni thought he was comforting himself, but he didn't take it to heart. In her opinion, Lin Mu has lived on the mountain for so many years, and she knows nothing about the dangers of society, let alone what she can help her with. However, this does not prevent her from spoiling her only junior brother. Xiao Mu, I didn't see that your medical skills are so good, yet you can still fight so well. During the time when Lin Mu needed him, Xiao Ni talked to Lin Mu about daily life. That's nature. Your husband is invincible below the immortal, and above the immortal, 1 for 1. Lin Mu grinned happily. You're bragging again. Xiao Ni couldn't help feeling shy and angry as she listened to him calling himself husband. You need to restrain yourself. In the city, there are hidden tigers and dragons, which may seem prosperous but are actually full of danger. Your youthful vigor will eventually suffer losses. Do you still call yourself a young man if you're not arrogant? Lin Mu smiled disapprovingly. The tiger must lie down in front of me, and the dragon must be coiled in front of me. This is my rule. Upon hearing this, Xiao Ni couldn't help but laugh. The laughter was light and moving, causing Lin Mu's heartstrings to tremble. The hand pressing on his head involuntarily moved down a bit. Ah! Xiao Ni instantly felt a strong sense of comfort hitting her, and couldn't help but let out a soft moan. Her pretty face turned red with a bang. Through the touch, Lin Mu could feel the stiffness of the other person's body and couldn't help but ask. What's wrong with senior sister? Did I press the weight? There. A little. Xiao Ni lowered her hair, trying to conceal the shyness on her face. Then I won't press anymore. Lin Mu was about to stop the massage, but Xiao Ni suddenly reached out and held down his hand that he was about to pull back. Immediately after, he heard her faint tremolo, no, don't stop. Very comfortable, I haven't relaxed like this in a long time. Lin Mu showed a pure smile upon seeing the situation and said, that's natural. The widows at the foot of the mountain all praise me for my good pinching skills, but unfortunately there's no vegetable oil here. Otherwise, I can help you take care of your body, senior sister, and ensure that you are relaxed 100 times. Still. Can oil be used? Xiao Ni was startled by his words and suddenly had a vivid imagination in her mind. Of course. Lin Mu didn't see Xiao Ni's pretty face about to bleed, so he thought to himself, senior sister, you're overworked. I'll help you press more in the future. My junior brother has grown up and learned to be considerate of his senior sister. Xiao Ni listened to his concern and couldn't help but clamp her legs a bit, and a warm current surged into her heart. Over the years, she has been running alone in the group all year round, already exhausted. This feeling of being taken care of has made her enjoy it immensely and strengthened her determination to protect Lin Mu. During her thoughts, Xiao Ni's eyelids felt heavier and heavier, and in the end, she couldn't hold on and fell asleep. Lin Mu naturally wouldn't take advantage of others and pulled a blanket from the sofa to cover her, quietly leaving the office. Then he went to the fire escape of the building, took out his Nokia, and sent a secret message to the power of his masters during their lifetime according to the old man's instructions. After sending this code message, someone will immediately contact him. Just as Lin Mu was standing there bored, looking out the window to pass the time, the sound of high heels suddenly came from behind. Lin Mu turned his head and saw that the person who came was actually Gu Xiaoyu, Xiao Ni's secretary. What's up? Lin Mu didn't have much affection for the woman who blocked him from entering, and his tone was also somewhat indifferent. Where's General Xiao? Gu Xiaoyu asked coldly, not feeling any better either. I'm asleep, in the office. Lin Mu replied casually. Sleeping. How could this be? Gu Xiaoyu was very surprised. Everyone in the company knew that Xiao Ni had severe insomnia, especially in the office where she could never sleep. Are you okay? Don't bother me if you're okay, I'm waiting for the phone. Lin Mu urged with a disdainful expression when he saw how she was shouting. Gu Xiaoyu regained his composure from surprise, hesitated for a moment, and took out a bank card from his bag, handing it to Lin Mu coldly. This is 200,000 yuan, please disappear from Mr. Zhao's side immediately. Chapter 9. Bring 1,000,000,008 billions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you crazy? Lin Mu gave her a cold glance and said, Sixth senior sister is my wife. Why should I leave her? After finishing speaking, he wanted to leave, but was stopped by Gu Xiaoyu. Although I don't know what kind of past Mr. Xiao and you have, I have seen so many of you, a little white-faced person. Relying on your own beauty to deceive and deceive everywhere, in fact, besides being handsome, you have no ability at all. Lin Mu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said. Thank you for your praise. I'm not praising you. Gu Xiaoyu was going crazy and pulled Lin Mu back, his face bulging into buns with anger. Can you have some self-awareness? The Xiao Group was the lifelong effort of President Xiao and former Chairman Xiao Linshan, but now President Xiao is forced to give up for you. If you still have some conscience, just take this 200,000 yuan and disappear in front of her. Who said she would be forced to give up? Lin Mu spread his hands. Isn't this okay? What do you understand? Gu Xiaoyu's face was full of disdain. The election of the board of directors the day after tomorrow is to choose one between Xiao Rongrong and Mr. Xiao. The criterion for evaluation is to see who has raised more funds and whose position is the chairman. If Mr. Xiao directly gives up the Li family's investment, it is equivalent to giving up his position as chairman. When Xiao Rongrong is elected, can the group still accommodate Mr. Xiao? At the end, Gu Xiaoyu's eyes were flushed, as if he had already foreseen Xiao Ni's fate. Lin Mu appeared particularly plain, his eyes full of disdain. Just a Li family, how much money can we have to invest? People can be fearless, but they cannot be ignorant. Gu Xiaoyu's eyes were filled with anger as he saw him so ignorant of heaven and earth. The Li family has the largest working capital in the entire Jiangling. Just the initial plan can earn 1 billion yuan, and in the future, 10 billion yuan is not a problem. As soon as she said these words, she noticed that Lin Mu looked at her expression becoming dull and snorted coldly. Are you scared? Since that's the case, hurry up and leave here with this 200,000 yuan. I will explain it to General Zhao's side. Lin Mu was about to refute when the phone suddenly rang, interrupting their conversation. Gu Xiaoyu had to temporarily put aside his anger, but had no intention of leaving. Lin Mu had to press the answer button. Young master. I am Ma Dong from the Hualong Foundation. I am specifically responsible for managing the assets of Mr. Li during his lifetime. Now all these assets have been successfully inherited under your name. From now on, Ma Dong will be your leader and go through fire and water for you. Just as I answered, there came a respectful voice from a man over there. Lin Mu listened to the man's introduction and casually asked. Oh, I see. I happen to have something to talk to you about. How much money can I use now? Anyway, all of Mr. Li's money is earned by him, so there is no sense of guilt when it comes to spending it. Zero Ma Dong respectfully replied. What's going on? Lin Mu was stunned. Your asset is already a number without a specific amount. At the end of the day, there is nothing you cannot afford to buy or pay for. Ma Dong explained. Lin Mu breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that old Li had spent all the money he had earned before his death. Young master, do you want to use money? Lin Mu replied, well, I'm in Jiangling. The day after tomorrow, you can bring 180 billion yuan to the Shao Group. I have something useful here. Obey me. Ma Dong didn't have any nonsense and hung up the phone after receiving the command. Lin Mu turned his head and found that Gu Xiaoyu was looking at him, pointing to the phone and laughing. You see, isn't this done? Why do simple things have to be so complicated? Gu Xiaoyu's expression was a bit dazed. Just now, he heard Lin Mu talk on the phone about bringing over 80 billion yuan. If it weren't for what she had heard with her own ears, she would definitely feel that this person had grown a cow in their mouth. Big brother. Even if you're pretending to be forced, can you do a bit of the trick? At least go out once and pretend to be very busy. Can you handle $1 billion business with just one phone call? Do you think you are Ma Dong from the Tianhai East China Foundation? The CEO of the consortium, who claims to be the king of cash flow. What are you looking at me for? Go tell my wife this news, go ahead. Lin Mu couldn't help but urge her as she stared at him in a daze. Gu Xiaoyu regained his composure and his gaze towards Lin Mu was no longer disdainful, as he had been completely occupied by disgust. You're really hopeless. Gu Xiaoyu felt that staying with this kind of forced king for another second would be a waste of his life, so he left the fire escape without looking back. Lin Mu looked at her departing figure with a bewildered expression on his face, unsure of what this woman was up to. But he's too lazy to pay attention, anyway, the matter has already been settled. It's better to think about how to get along with Xiao Ni if you waste time talking to that woman. Then Lin Mu carried his phone in his pocket and happily returned to the office on the other side. Xiao Rongrong, who was turned into a pig by Lin Mu's fan, was assigned by StarsLin Mu to go to the Li family villa after coming out of the group. In the living room, a man dressed in a white suit and carrying red wine with a graceful demeanor, after listening to Xiao Rongrong's crying, suddenly showed a hint of gloom on his handsome face. What are you saying? Xiao Ni took care of a little white face. Woo-woo. Li Xiao, shouldn't you first care about the injury on someone's face? Xiao Rongrong cried out, look at that wild seed beating me up, it's disfigured. Li Haojie quickly put away his gloomy expression and pretended to be very sorry to investigate her injuries. It's okay Rongrong, no matter what you become, I won't despise you. Vomit. It doesn't matter if he doesn't look at it, he almost vomited out the Australian dragon he ate last night. Because the wound was not properly treated, Xiao Rongrong's right face was purulent. Li Xiao. Xiao Rongrong stomped her feet and was so angry that she almost cried. Sorry Rongrong, my stomach has been feeling unwell lately. Don't worry, no one dares to harm me. Li Haojia's woman can still survive unscathed in this world. I will definitely teach that kid a hard lesson for you. Li Haojia was about to look directly at Xiao Rongrong. When she wasn't disfigured before, she thought she was pretty. Now. Hiss, what about the investment? Xiao Rongrong's face softened a bit when she saw him say this, but the resentment in her eyes did not diminish. Xiao Ni, that slut, the little white face she took care of has beaten me like this. I must make her pay the price. Li Haojia patted his chest and said, don't worry, I have already arranged it. I will definitely support you unconditionally in the board election the day after tomorrow, but... Rongrong, since you want revenge so much, I can give you an idea. What idea? Xiao Rongrong immediately became interested upon hearing it. Li Haojia leaned in her ear and whispered a few words, and Xiao Rongrong's face suddenly showed a cruel excitement. Good idea, Li Xiao, I will do my best to cooperate with you, but you can't go to battle in person. Li Haojia quickly promised, don't worry about this. Who wouldn't know that Li Haojia only loves you, Xiao Rongrong? Li Xiao, you're so kind. Xiao Rongrong was deeply moved, and as she spoke, her eyes were filled with peach blossoms, and she leaned her mouth in. Li Haojia quickly got up and dodged, Rongrong, it's getting late. You go back quickly, I have to prepare myself. Okay. Xiao Rongrong, who had not succeeded, was somewhat disappointed, but in order to retaliate against Xiao Ni, she could only temporarily endure it. After Xiao Rongrong left the villa, Li Haojia's face turned completely grim, and in a fit of anger, he instantly smashed the house to pieces. Xiao Ni. You slut, I've been chasing you for so long, but you're a cheap bastard. It's really yours. Hee hee, don't you like a little white face? I'll see how promiscuous you are in bed then. And this country bumpkin named Lin Mu, who dares to snatch women from me, Li Haojia, I see how many lives you have to die. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked in from the door, who was the head of the Li family, Li Ziming. Son, have you finished everything? Li Haojia, seeing that it was his own father, told him with a gloomy face about what had happened in the Xiao group. Li Ziming learned that a little white face had appeared from somewhere and disrupted their plan, with an equally ugly expression on his face. However, he appeared much calmer than Li Haojia. Since that's the case, let Xiao Ni be ruined. But don't forget the master's instructions. When you deal with this woman, you must find that thing, otherwise we can't bear the master's anger. Got it, Dad. What about that wild seed surnamed Lin? What should we do? Li Haojia's face lit up. Li Ziming took a sip of his cigarette and sneered disdainfully as he crossed his legs. An ant, just crush it to death. Chapter 10. Meeting my mother. In law for the first time. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Gu Xiaoyu naturally didn't take Lin Mu's instructions to heart. In her opinion, Lin Mu's words were pure farting. If she really believes that a little white face who only knows how to eat soft food can bring out billions, then she is truly sick. Therefore, when Lin Mu wanted to return to Xiao Ni's office, she directly blocked him outside the door. Lin Mu was afraid of disturbing Xiao Ni's rest, so he didn't argue with her. Coincidentally, he also had something to do, so he found a place to sit at Xiao Ni's door and spent more than 10 minutes connecting all the forces of his masters before their death. The number of Blood Shaman, Dragon Soul Hall, and Thousand Machine Hall has increased to over 100, but it has exhausted him. During this period, people from all over the group looked at him with an extremely strange gaze, occasionally pointing at him. Obviously, the news of Xiao Ni taking care of her little white face has already spread in the group. Although Lin Mu listened to their unpleasant words clearly, he was not interested in explaining anything to these people. After all, before going down the mountain, Master Fu instructed that if an ant barks at you, you should kill him. A nest of ants barks at you, and you end up the ant nest. This is my senior sister's group, can't we just blow up this building just because these people say a few words? Just as he was about to sneak in to recuperate Xiao Ni while Gu Xiaoyu was not paying attention, a middle-aged woman with a dignified and elegant demeanor walked towards him with a calm face. When passing by Lin Mu, she pushed him away in disgust and said, "Get out of the way." Lin Mu looked bewildered and then saw the woman rushing toward Xiao Ni's office. Gu Xiaoyu immediately stopped her and said, "Auntie, Mr. Xiao is resting inside. Does she still have the face to rest?" A middle-aged woman is like an explosive bucket, exploding at a moment. I asked Gu Xiaoyu, who said my daughter took care of little white face. Ah. Who is it? This. Gu Xiaoyu's face changed and she instinctively glanced at Lin Mu's side. This small action was immediately caught by Shuelongui, who turned his head to look at Lin Mu, who was harmless to humans and animals, and understood something in an instant. Gu Xiaoyu. You. Don't tell me it's him. Shuelongui screamed in disbelief, and the loud sound immediately attracted the entire group. Gu Xiaoyu dared not lie, but it was difficult to speak up, so he could only give Lin Mu a signal and ask him to leave quickly. Lin Mu, however, misunderstood her meaning and enthusiastically approached Shuelongui, saying, "Hello Mom, I'm Xiao Ni's husband. You can call me Xiao Mu or Xiao Lin." Quiet a deathly silence. Gu Xiaoyu helplessly covered her face, thinking to herself that this was over. Sure enough, Shuelongui exploded upon hearing Lin Mu's self-introduction. "You fart. Little brat. Who is your mother? Who is your husband? My daughter doesn't have a man like you who picks up junk. If you dare to tarnish my daughter's reputation again, I will immediately report to the police and arrest you." Lin Mu smiled and patted his burlap bag, saying, "You misunderstood Mom. I don't have any waste in here, it's all treasures. Do you want to take a look?" Shuelongui laughed angrily at him for not wanting Bai Lian so much, and sent out a sole triple question to Lin Mu. "Do you have a room? Do you have a car? Do you have any savings?" Lin Mu was slightly taken aback and said, "It seems like there's none. But I can buy it." "What are you buying with?" Shuelongui didn't give him a chance to defend himself and roared loudly, "My daughter's net worth alone is in the tens of millions, and her monthly expenses are in 6 figures. I've seen many people like you, and I want to eat soft food for anything. Do you deserve it?" Lin Mu smiled faintly and said, "I know medical skills. Mom, you are in menopause and have irregular internal breathing. It's not advisable to get angry, otherwise in a few years, your brain will be damaged and you will have dementia." "No. I want it. Chaos. Shout. Shuelongui is going crazy, where did this come from? Are you going to anger her to death? Where are the security guards? What do they do to eat?" When the group enters, even the lunatics are left unattended. Seeing Shuelongui jumping, Gu Xiaoyu empathized and glanced at the security guard who had already surrounded the crowd but dared not approach, feeling extremely helpless. At that moment, the office door was opened by someone, and Xiao Ni yawned as she walked out of it. She looked at the scene in front of her for a moment and said, "Mom, why did you come? Do you still know that I am this mother?" Shuelongui became even more angry when she saw Xiao Ni. "If I don't come again, you will be deceived and your family will be ruined." Xiao Ni was taken aback and glanced at Lin Mu, who immediately understood. He quickly explained to Shuelongui, "Mom, Xiao Mu is not a fraud, he is my fiancé. You." Shuelongui saw her admit it herself, her eyes staring like copper bells. "Are you crazy, Xiao Ni? You don't even look up to so many talented young people in Zhongling. Are you interested in a beggar? Even if I match you and Li Xiao every day, you don't have to anger me like this, do you? Mom, it's not as you think, Xiao Mu is very sharp." Seeing her explain like this, Xiao Enai grabbed Xue Langui and wanted her to calm down. However, he was directly countered by the latter, who grabbed her hand and walked out without saying a word. I don't care where he came from, but I don't allow you to have any connection with him. Mr. Li has arranged for us to have dinner at the Jinding Intercontinental Hotel tonight, and you must come with me. As soon as she heard that she was going to have dinner with Li Haojie, Xiao Enai was reluctant in every way. Mom! I'm not going. I still have dinner with Xiao Mu tonight. Shut up. If you still recognize me as your mother, you can't make it up to you. Xue Langui, who didn't know where she came from, pulled Xiao Enai in front of so many people and walked towards the elevator hall. Xiao Enai had no choice but to turn his gaze to Lin Mu. Lin Mu immediately followed suit when he saw the situation. However, just a few steps away, he was stopped by Xue Langui. Don't follow me. If you dare to follow me, I'll jump down from here with my daughter. If you jump down, I can also save you. Lin Mu said with a smile. Nonsense. Xue Langui's tone was extremely cold, and then he was vigilant as he took Xiao Enai onto the elevator. Lin Mu had no choice but to turn around and walk towards the fire escape. Gu Xiaoyu was taken aback and said, "Don't tell me you're going down from here. This is the 89th floor." Lin Mu threw her a sentence, "The elevator can't keep up, it's faster here." After speaking, his figure disappeared into the passage, leaving only a large group of onlookers with bewildered faces. This person really has a problem with his brain. How could anyone go downstairs faster than an elevator? Gu Xiaoyu regained his senses and rolled his eyes. After dispersing the crowd, he went to Xiao Ni's office to organize the documents. However, when she glanced at the unique closed-circuit television in the CEO's office, she found that Lin Mu's figure had already appeared in the lobby on the first floor. Gu Xiaoyu suspected that she had read wrong, so she immediately rubbed her eyes and her expression suddenly became frightened. It has been less than 5 minutes since she just entered the office. Even if you jump from the 89th floor, it won't take more than 1 or 2 minutes to land, right? How could this be possible?